Hi, welcome to Caregiver Cast. I'm Mary Elaine Petrucci, your host. Munira Zahabi is considered a niche navigator, and she will be talking a little bit more about her caregiving experience and how it relates to what she is doing currently. Munira, welcome to Caregiver Cast.
Thank you so much, Mary Elaine. This is such an honor.
I appreciate you being here. Can you explain for our listeners how you took care of your husband or what led you into caregiving?
You know how they tell you you have to be in the right place in the right time?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess I was that person in the right time, in the right place for my husband, because ever since I married him, he had some health issues. This year, actually, next week would have been our 10th anniversary.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. But so when I married him, we married in February, and in December that year, my daughter got married. So we went to Dallas. Now, he had some pills, but I thought he was a responsible young man and did what he was supposed to do. But like all kids, he decided that he could cut corners. And when I came back from my daughter's wedding, it was a heavy snowstorm in 2013 going into 14. My the driveway had at least 8 feet of snow. My car was buried, and he woke up lethargic in the middle of the night, just grasping of things and looking for things that weren't there. And I was very, very shocked. I'd never seen him like that, because he was always a wild man, a very strong person. And I'd never seen him in this state before. So I had to go call the police, the ambulance, and the fire brigade came. They all showed up, and they were like, okay, we're gonna take him. And they took him to the hospital. Well, the cars were buried, so I had to go with him, and then we would figure out things. But that started the journey of me being his caregiver. Now, he wasn't an invalid, but he began to deteriorate because he had diabetes. Now, there are thousands and thousands of people who have diabetes and live a very fulfilled life. He, on the other hand, lived a fulfilled life, lived to eat, and forgot to take his medicine or decided it wasn't for him. So every 2 months after that, he would be admitted to the hospital because his sugars were too high, too elevated, and then they would have to give him 2 bags of normal saline and it would go down. Now, this is stupidity, because if you have diabetes, somebody has to take care of yourself, right? You come first. Exactly. But he never looked at it like that. But for me, it was like I was put in this position by the higher powers up there, because I had to show up as a person who could then be a nurse to him, be a mother figure to him, or be his partner, and actually shove pills if I had to, or inject him with insulin when I needed to. And that was the whole beginning of my journey.
That's amazing. That must have put you in a difficult situation. I know in my family, diabetes runs in our family. So the people who had diabetes knew they had to eat at a certain time. They had to check their blood sugars, and they were really responsible. How or why did your husband feel like he needed someone outside himself to take care of his medical condition?
He never asked me for help, but his argument with the physician was always, I don't have a cushy job. I don't have a strict time protocol where I'm going to have my meals at the same time, or because he worked in HVAC and he was always on the roofs of businesses, on a strip mall or something, gas station or something. And when he was looking at the machine, he was like the heart surgeon in his operating room. So for him, the roof was his clean room, if you will, for what a surgeon and what a theater room is like to a surgeon. And he never asked for help, but he was always like, those are my patients, and if I have to go, I have to go. Yes, you have to go, but you have to put yourself first, right? And he never asked for help. He just decided he was going to skip meals. We gave him a small cooler. We gave him the meals pre-packed. We gave him insulin. We tried everything. But the last 4 years were very, very significantly very hard, because at a job he fell and he broke his, not knee per se, but bones that connect to the knee. And that made his life very hard because he couldn't climb up and down the ladders. And that was the beginning of his deterioration. So even though we were married for 7 years together, the first 3 were awesome, but the last 4, we saw the decline coming in, because with diabetes, it shuts down your body. He had eye problems, he had GI problems, he had Crohn's disease, he has ulcerative colitis all rolled into one. He had, he was getting shots in his eyes, just because the onset of diabetes, and he didn't take care of it right at the beginning. And so, this maybe I'm here because I want to tell people that just because, our body shuts down, our body, we don't take care of our bodies in the first place. We should be looking at it as a temple and eating the right foods for us to be healthy. We abuse it so much when we are young kids or young adults that we forget that it's going to affect us later. And even if somebody is diagnosed with, blood pressure or diabetes or something, it's okay to take a pill because there are remedies out there. If you lose the weight or eat right, then maybe, and there's some people who have been successful in just eliminating the drugs itself. But to be stupid and say this is not for me is just stupid. I'm just saying. I'm sorry.
No, I hear your pain. It seems like if your husband knew the consequences of not eating on time, taking insulin, and watching his blood sugar throughout the day, it seems a bit irresponsible on his part, because he's not only being irresponsible for himself, but he's also doing it to you and your family, his family. It just seems to impact so many people when someone has that attitude.
True. And when a person's sugar is very high, there are certain body parts that just stop working. And he was affected with kidney disease and diagnosed with it in 2019. Right? So that's one of the first things. Your eyes get affected, your livers get affected, your pancreas get affected. It literally, diabetes is a disease, you have to nip it in the bud. Otherwise, it's going to shut down your whole body. And I didn't know. I didn't ask for a clean bill of health when I married him, I didn't know he was sick. I didn't know until this happened. But the fact is that, you know, some people are just afraid or ashamed to take insulin when they're at a party or at a gathering. My husband did the same. It was a wedding, everybody's right there. And so I'm not going to do this. Oh, I have to unruffle my shirt to take my insulin in my belly area. So this is just too much work. I'm not going to do it. But it affects not only the person who is sick, their health, but it affects us as well as caregivers, because you never know when you're going to get a call. So in 2017, he was on and off. Every 3 months, he would go to the nurses. And there was a running joke in our family where we would say that he was just bored with me, so he would just wanted to go see the pretty nurses and go visit the nurses in the ER, right?
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, well, that can be not so comforting. Go ahead.
Right. And so I had a full-time job. I was working in healthcare with a lawyer's office. I mean, and then he would just call me. And sometimes I'm always constantly worried about, are you okay? Is everything okay? Have you eaten lunch? Or did you drink some water right now? And to me, it's like having a 5-year-old kid in the house, right?
Right.
Stop with your video games, come eat something. No, I have to finish this. I have to finish my game, or I have to finish my show. It's not like that. But the fact is that you have to be one cognizant. Now, as caregivers, when I was in that position, sometimes I was just so exhausted because I would not get enough sleep. I would be tired on days when he didn't have dialysis. He was on dialysis only for a year. But on days when we didn't have dialysis, then he would have other appointments or lab work that he needed to do. So I'm always constantly running around. But I had to give up my job because I became a full-time caregiver.
And that's must have been so hard, especially when your husband is not helping himself.
True. And the other thing was, there was no help. I never found any groups or any, even physicians' offices were not equipped to create this self-help or something where they would just help the caregivers.
Totally agree with that. There was no one really for me. I mean, I had one short caregiving group, but nothing long-term. And you really need the support. You need a community.
You just need somebody to say, hey, I'm there for you. If you need to just sit there and just sit on a couch and cry if you have to, just get it off your chest.
Exactly.
And there's no help like that. And so that was really hard. That was, I mean, I always wondered why they have support groups for everything. But now to come find out, they do have support groups for caregivers, only they are just so hidden and not very exposed out there.
Oh, definitely. Totally. Caregivers need so much self-care. They need so much help just taking a respite, just giving you some time off just so that you can recharge and come back to be more present. And a lot of the groups, or some of them, just, let you vent, and that's okay, but you really need more support.
Yes.
You need a caregiving group where you can vent and you could get the information that you need. And be able to talk to other caregivers, to experts and myself, and just learn from each other, because it's a lonely road.
It is a lonely road. And most times, I think, this is my own personal thought, an observation is that people don't want to know people are sick. They don't want to tell other people that they are so sick. They just, oh, why should they know? Why should I tell them? That's the problem that most people have. And I think it is in communicating very well, that part of communication, or even just telling your friends or your uncles or your family members or somebody that this is what I'm going through. When I was going through, and when we were looking for a kidney and my husband was on the donor list, and it was very apparent that I needed to bring his family in. He has about 25 members of his family here in the Chicagoland area. And I brought them in, and I had a Thanksgiving party, a Father's Day party, a Father's Day thing. And then I invited everybody, and then I had them sit down and we just talked. And I told them what was going on with my husband. And that support also was very minimal, because they had never experienced anybody asking them for help in such a way where, oh, so now you're asking us for a kidney? And I said, I'm not, if you can give me and get tested for it, that would be awesome. But if you cannot, then at least give us that moral support. But they all came up with decisions or advice on how to tackle this problem instead of actually tackling the problem. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I'm so sorry that they did that. I mean, I can't imagine how frustrating it must have been for you to hear all this advice when all you're asking for is just some moral support for your husband and yourself to get through this transplant. Wow.
Oh, they made plans about us moving into somebody's house, and you can come and live here, but I'm going to be working. So how are you going to help me if you're going to be working all day? And then I'm at your house where I know nothing, where nothing is. I might as well just stay in my house,
Right, exactly. I know. It'd be one thing if they were giving up their job or doing some of their work remotely so that they could help you during the day.
I did give up my job. And as I was working too, but I was building my business, and I was in the beginning stages of building my business, and I just forget this. I have my Munira's Musings podcast, and I was I would interview people once a week. I mean, I was interviewing willy-nilly, but then I decided it's going to be on a schedule. I had to streamline stuff. So there's 52 weeks that I do these interviews, and it's awesome. I love it. And you know what? It's something that I enjoy because I meet different personalities as well. And I'm a very outgoing person. I like that. But being a caretaker also isolates you. Nobody wants to be your friend. Nobody, oh, she's just got this problem. Nobody invites you to anything. And that becomes a very lonesome.
Oh, definitely. You're isolated, you're lonely, you have no one to turn to because nobody, like you say, wants to step up to the plate and ask what help you need. And it's hard for the caregiver to ask for help. You did in your case, but they weren't giving you the moral, emotional support that you really needed. And that must have been so frustrating to you that you had to do this alone.
Not as much as frustrating, but I kept, because this is not my first rodeo. My first husband had, and we were divorced, right? But my first husband also, although we were divorced, he was a diabetic too, and he loved food, and he had to go through an amputation on his right leg. So I had to orchestrate with all of my kids to step in when one exited, right? So for a whole year, everybody had made 3 trips, 3 trips around the year to help their father get acclimated to the fact that his leg was gone. But he never, to his dying breath, never forgot that it was because of me that he, that he lost his leg, because they had to amputate it. I was his primary caregiver too also, but I was always never in the same town because I had moved out. But the physicians all knew that he was alone. He didn't have any support, nothing like that. So they would always revert back to me, and I had kept him on my insurance, and that was okay because, it's the human thing to do. And I did that. I'm not asking to be put on a pedestal, but I knew that he wouldn't be able to take care of himself because he did stupid things, right? I had given him a Blue Cross Blue Shield after we divorced and we separated. And like a week before he had his massive heart attack, he had canceled it. Now,
oh my goodness
hindsight is
gracious.
2020, right? Right, he canceled
Oh my
it.
word.
So-
Munira, you were, oh my gosh.
So it's
What's the
funny
word?
now, but I was fuming when I found that. I said, you had the best insurance for $35 a month. And why is it that you would cancel? And if you didn't want to pay it, you could have told me, I'd have paid it for you. And, he had, he went through stuff too. And then he started having diabetic issues. And doctors would just see him because I worked in that hospital. They would see him because of me, not because they wanted to see a patient, because he was non-compliant also.
Right. See, I think if people like both of your husbands, I'm sorry, were going to be non-compliant, then let them, I would feel like, okay, you do your thing and I'll stay away. And I just don't understand how people can be so uncompliant about something so dangerous.
But they don't see it. And then as it's too late when they realize, right? It's always too late when they realize that, oh my God, what did I just do? And that becomes an eye-opening, but it's too late. And
right, exactly.
and I have learned a long time ago that you can take a horse to the water and you can flog him, but he's never going to drink it if he's not ready.
So true, Munira. I'm so sorry to hear that you had two husbands that did the same thing. How awful that must have be for you, knowing that both of them were being so non-compliant. I mean, how can you support somebody being non-compliant? I personally couldn't, and I'm sure you didn't either. But, I mean, and you can't go around nagging them or telling them, what they should do.
Lately in the last year or so, he had to also have the mask at night. What is it called?
Sleep apnea.
Sleep apnea, right? Sorry. And he would have to wear the contraption, and he would fight me tooth and nail that he didn't want to wear it. And he was like, if I had one problem, then I could deal with it, but I don't have one problem and I have too many problems. And oh my God. And, sometimes it's like, okay. And then finally I had to, even with my first husband, with his massive heart attack, he didn't want to have surgery and all of that. And one of the surgeons sat me down and he told me, he goes, let me tell you something. First of all, you're not married. It's not the surgery that's difficult. Well, the surgery takes longer, but it's not the surgery, but it's going to be the aftercare. Who's going to do that for him, right?
Right.
And you're not married, so you're not even living in this state of California. And I said, okay. He says, let him be if he doesn't want to be. If as a high risk patient that he is, none of the surgeons will even touch him because he's never going to wake up. There's chances that very high chances that he's never going to wake up after the surgery. So if I was you, I would ask him, and if he doesn't want to do the surgery, let him be. Don't force him. And those words rang true to my ear. And I had learned how to take that same mindset with this husband and said, okay, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. If you want to try it for 15 minutes a day, that's fine too. It's right here. You know how to use it. Everything is calibrated. All you have to do is put it on your face. And there were days when he would just try and say, okay, I'll just try it. But then there were days when he just didn't want to do it. And it's okay. It's okay. Whatever you want to do is okay.
Right. It's one thing to have a person do what they want when they're totally alone, but when it impacts other people in their life, I guess I just find it hard to fathom that they had such a cavalier lifestyle. Like, I can do anything I want. It doesn't matter if I've diabetes. Doesn't matter if I have to have a kidney transplant or a heart surgery. You know, it's like
they come from the era. I think it's the era of now. Now you see young kids are always exercising, they're looking and they're watching what they're eating. Or if you have chocolate in your cupboard, my daughter comes and throws, why do you have a chocolate? Why? I'm not eating it, it's just sitting there. Why is it even sitting there? And I said, do you want it? But the bottom line is that they don't want anything unhealthy around your house, right? Even if it is, they just don't. And I mean, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be cognizant, but they're completely way overboard, where that generation over before us were the generation of it's okay, life is cool. And then we in the middle are like a part of, we take a little bit of that side and we take a little bit of this side and we say life is good, so we're going to mix both worlds together. We are not going to exaggerate it, or we are not going to be completely nonchalant.
Yes. I'm so sorry that you were in the middle of both of those medical debacles.
But you know what? You learn something out of everything.
Well, you do. And I commend you for doing it twice, Munira. I mean, I guess I did it for both my parents, but I'll have to say my father wasn't always compliant. He had to use oxygen and he felt like he didn't need it when he went to bed. And I'm like, that's when you need it most, Dad. You know, you need that oxygen going. Yes, that was a battle for me too. So I understand where you're coming from. And there were times where, you know, I had to get like a portable oxygen tank and with 2 huge batteries so that we could take them on the plane to go see relatives in Florida. And both of those batteries had to be charged. So mid-flight, we had to change it. Fortunately, the company had delivered oxygen equipment to my aunt's house, but still just trying to get him there with the oxygen in a wheelchair, it was very challenging. And so I can just imagine what you went through when your husband didn't want to use the sleep apnea machine at night. So I get it.
You can, you know, sometimes then I got to the point where you can't beat them, you can't join, you just join them, right? So you just take that mindset.
I know, Munira, but that's so hard because you want the best for them. But on the other hand, like you say, you can't tell them what to do or how to do it or when to do it because they're not going to do it.
So I think, you know, and I think what's missing, I mean, when I sit down and I analyze and strategize, and I'm learning how to teach people about podcasting and communication, and I'm talking about how do you speak up. And I think that's a skill that most people have lost, communication, because especially during COVID, even though we have a lot of Zoom calls, we are not really connected. Like doctors were doing calls on Zoom and then meetings on Zoom. I never know. I cannot say to you, hey, Mary Elaine, I like your earrings, because I can see the, some part of your earring, but not the whole part.
Right.
I can't see your dress, and I can't say, hey, I love your dress, where'd you get it? So conversations like that have not taken place in a while.
Right.
We are on screen time, and that's convenient to a lot of people. But I think for people who are in a caregiver's capacity, or who are taking care of the patients, people who are in, so I think the physicians, they sit down with the wife and the husband. Is it okay if I can talk to you about this thing? I think the insurance companies have made it so difficult, where the doctors are in and out of a hospital exam room because they don't want to talk to so many questions. Like last year when I went to see my physician, she told me, I've spent almost 10 minutes over with you. And I said, I still have questions, right? I wasn't sick. I was just asking her for different things. But the thing is, the fact that they're always looking at the clock and they're allotted so much time to work with their patients. The fact is that it's all about the patient. Who cares about the caregiver? And the communication between the physician and the patient is not done in a correct manner. Oh, you know what, your sugars are high, you need to go. Like when my husband started out in January, right, of 2018, we were at a physician's office. We were there. We did the blood work. We did the we did his physical. That was the time we do our physicals. And then 3 months later, 6 weeks later, she wants to see us because the blood work results, to read the results. She sits there and she tells us, I think your A1C is high and you need to go see a nephrologist. And that's it, right? Like, how do you make this recommendation? And what happens in this whole scenario of caretaking and patients is that one doctor pawns it off to another. Oh, you need to talk to this person, you need to talk to that person, and you need to talk to this person. Well, wait a second. Why are you making this recommendation? What are you seeing that I need to go see a third person? Why can't you tell me? Oh, no, you know what, the nephrologist is going to tell you more stuff. Well, besides, I've spent more time with you in the room. That communication, and when that first step is done very well, where it's communicated to the patient, look, this is happening in your body. Your numbers are not right. I'm recommending that you see a nephrologist. Let's see if there is a medication or anything else we can do to fix this. There's no such thing. You just got to go see a nephrologist. It took us 9 months to see a nephrologist. Now,
oh my gosh.
And when by the time we got to see her, she was like, oh, you need to leave here and go to the dialysis center. I'm just going to tell them that you're coming and you need to go watch a video and everything else. And then from there, we can decide what you want to do. Well, wait a minute. Wait a second. Decide what we want to do. Oh yeah, your kidneys are too bad. But it took you 9 months to see him. If he was that bad from January, you could have called us in before and at least given us that, made us ready here. That, you know what, you may have to be on dialysis. This is what it is. You have to look at the options. Just from there, we were just, from here, those people are expecting you just go there. It's like a concierge service, from one room to another. Hey, this is your room. This is what you're going to do here. Watch a video. And I'm like, I'm watching a video for what? to make a decision to put somebody on dialysis. And, even though my husband had a very hearty attitude, he was like, I was in denial. This is not happening.
Mm,
So to me as a caregiver, I think the communication skills need to be a little bit better.
definitely, I hear you, and you're right. Physicians are on a time frame where they can only see people for 10 or 15 minutes and then they have to move off. However, I know with my personal physician, I had to wait to see her because there were other patients who had emergencies and had come back after they had done some ultrasounds or other tests. So I'm glad you said that. So now you are a niche navigator and you're doing your communicating on your podcasts. How can caregivers use what you've learned, the communication skills that you've learned, to be more proactive, I guess, with the medical care or being a caregiver?
So if whoever's listening to this podcast, if they are somebody who is on the same page as me,
Mm-hmm.
they need to sit down and say, look, I am here, I will wait, or I'm going to spend a little bit more time with you, so you better be sure that I have answers. You can't just pawn it off on me that he is going to see a nephrologist or anything. Oh, you know what? Like I was told, like, I'll give you my example. Last week, 2 weeks ago, I had to do some blood work. I got into the doctor's appointment. They sent me a note on this e-chart saying that your results will be discussed. Now, I had already seen it, and I am one of the people in the healthcare industry that can see the results, and I'm okay with that. Some people are not. So the doctor was like, oh, everything else looks good. Your vitamin B1 is good. Your this is good. Your this is good. Your cholesterol was 1 point up higher from the last year. So we need to keep a iron check. But I thought you were going to open up this chart and we could look at it together. Oh, no, I don't have time for that. No. So if you
my gosh.
she doesn't have time for that. So I was like, who is not giving you this time? Who? Is this the insurance companies?
Mm-hmm.
Then why do you overbook? You need to know your patients that are coming into your clinic and know this person is going to just be the compliant one, or this person is going to have a lot of questions. So I need to just adjust the time that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? If you are on the same page as me, then make sure that you ask the questions or make an appointment to go see the physician to ask the questions and say, you know what, I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back with my questions. You have the EMR system right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that one is awesome because you can send them a message via, by email, and they get it and somebody will answer.
Wow.
They have to by law. They have to by law.
Well,
and it stays in the system forever. So you have written documentation right there.
Awesome. Good advice. Yes, most definitely.
Always use the resources that they give you. If they don't have time to talk to you, then go ahead and ask questions. Sometimes after a doctor's appointment, I keep asking them questions, and sometimes it's just stupid questions, but I keep asking them questions, and then they'll say, we'll call you. And then I either record the call, or, if I see if this is going to be important, or I'll say, I'll just come in and talk to you.
Right.
But you have to, because the thing is, they can't bounce this on you. I don't care if you're a patient or a caregiver. If you have somebody who is not well and you are paying for the insurance that you have, then that is your right. So do that. That's the first thing. Okay. Second thing, create or find somebody else in a create camaraderie. That's what I would say, is go find some, like if you are in like in a dialysis center. I met
Mhm.
so many different people who were caregivers and who would come pick their husbands up or something. So then I would just say, hey, if you ever wanna, if you drop your husband off and you wanna talk or wanna have a grab a coffee or something, I don't have a problem. We can just go and sit, have a coffee, because everybody looks good on the outside.
Mhm.
Nobody knows what's going on here. There were
Right.
several people that I met and connected with, who I still connect with, and they didn't want to be in a support group, but one-on-one, they were okay talking to me. So we would meet at the neighbor coffee shop or a Denny's, and we would just sit there and talk.
Well, that's wonderful that you did that, to create that community, because you can't walk this journey alone.
And to hear, you always feel, am I the only one feeling this? Am I the only one feeling this? And then you find somebody else who is feeling this, and then you think, oh, I'm not alone. There's things in this world that needs to be done. And so that could create a movement, right? There's
Mhm.
nurses who or CNAs who are in the caregiving business, where they go from home to home, patient to patient. But people who have individual care can
Mhm.
become very frustrated. And I'm not saying I'm a saint. I'm not, because sometimes I would really get mad at my husband, and I would always tell him, why? Why? And sometimes I would just pray to God and just say, why me? Why? And there's no answer. There's no return answer on that. But get on the same page with people, because if you say, or there were times when this one patient, he was a dialysis patient, he had done some service for the country, and he was on dialysis, and he would just say, come here, and he would hold my hand, and hold my hand, and he would say, I'm going to pray for you so that you can find strength. But I know what you're going through, because what you are going through, I've done it with my wife, and then I buried her, and then I got her disease. That's what he said.
Mm.
So he knew exactly what people were going through. There were days when you would see, I would cry. I would just, this thing, but he understood me because he had done it. So people in the same boat know the same feelings. And then number 3 is nothing else matters, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter if the patient has any kind of funky disease, because all diseases will kill, and they do funny things. That's why we are not healthy. But one lady gave me this advice that nothing matters. Create memories and don't miss a beat. That's what she told me. If
Wow.
you're a caregiver or a patient, you don't want to miss a beat. And I pray that everybody has healthy. They don't go through what I wouldn't wish this on any even my the worst person in the world. But I wouldn't wish this for anybody. But I would say to you that make the best of the moments, laugh more, enjoy, go smell the roses, because there were times when you haven't done it. And this is part of the reason that you haven't smelled the roses before, now that you're in this position. So, go out with your friends, even if it's a coffee or meet in the park or take a picnic, and just sit there with your loved one and just make the best moments count.
Wow. Those 3 were great nuggets. Oh my gosh, especially the last one. Yes, you can't, if you can't change anything, create a memory for what you're doing with the person that you're caring for. So amazing. That's a golden nugget for sure. Munira, do you have any closing words for our audience after those 3 brilliant nuggets that you provided?
Go ahead. Not really, but I'm going to say to you that take care of your body,
Mhm.
take care of yourself, walk a little bit, move a little bit, dance a little bit, laugh a little bit, because all of these things release the endorphins, makes us feel good. Yeah, the weather is gloomy out here in Chicago. It's like rainy, all the snow is melting, and then it's just dreary, right?
Right.
And but that doesn't mean that the sun isn't shining up above the clouds. It is. So that doesn't mean that you have to this thing. Just call up a friend and meet her for coffee. This is the time to be cozy and watch a movie or something. But whatever it is,
Mm.
just eat healthy. I'm not saying don't eat. I'm saying eat healthy, make good choices, kiss the ones you love, and tell them I love you. That's it.
Okay. I think you said it all. You just put it all in a great little ball, in a little nutshell there for us. Thank you, Munira, for being on today. Great advice. And I know our listeners will definitely learn about your journeys into caregiving. So thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Most definitely. If you can keep doing that journaling or a gratitude thing, I think we're golden. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Bye.